Hello, everyone. Welcome back to everyone's favorite show, All About America's Team, brought to you by Delahanty Media. You can find us at All America's Team on Instagram and America's Team, capital P, capital C, on Twitter. And we have quite a fun show. But before we get into that, I'm Ray Nickens,
And my name is Owen DeChico.
and we will be once again your hosts for this show. Now, Owen, let's start with some updates regarding the Dallas Cowboys before we get into our main topic.
Okay, so recently, a lot of fans have been wanting the Cowboys to sign a veteran cornerback, and one of the names that have been brought up a lot is Richard Sherman. Sadly, Richard Sherman will no longer be in contention for that spot, as due to the fact that he was booked and being investigated for domestic violence charges. So I don't know if this is true or not, but he was arrested and he was denied bail, so it's not really looking too good for him. But personally, I would have liked to have Richard Sherman, just a big body who could. I trust him more than some of the undrafted guys that I'm afraid may start or may not start, but may have a decent amount of playing time. How about you? Did you want the Cowboys to sign Sherman?
I did want the Cowboys to sign Sherman. He's a good, well proven cornerback, and he's played in big games. He's played in 2 Super Bowls. He's made big plays in Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And he'd just be that good veteran leadership that we would need in our secondary, especially with the secondary. That's pretty much of all guys under the age of 26, I believe.
Yeah, they're really young.
So it would be really nice to have him. And this is a surprising news. I just learned about this news today when you told me. But since Richard Sherman, he's from Stanford, doesn't really have much of a criminal record. He's been been on countless talk shows around the sports world. So it's interesting to find him in this situation. Hopefully he the charges are dropped and it was confirmed that he wasn't actually involved. But yeah, I would probably prefer the Cowboys not to sign him because it would just prove that we only like to sign people who are, not good citizens of this country.
Yeah.
So
yeah, his wife said that Richard's a good person and this is not his character, and wanted everyone to know that no one was injured, which makes it a little bit better. But who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, it is what it is.
True. So why don't we get into the actual show? Me personally, the topic of today is who Ray and who we think are the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. Recently on Instagram and Twitter, for whatever reason, people have been debating whether Matthew Stafford or Dak Prescott is the better quarterback. And some people have Dak as being better. Others have him as being worse. And I think the worst person that I saw on Twitter or Instagram debate who the top 10 quarterbacks are was Dan Orlovsky. I don't understand how he has a job. I think ever since he was saying that Carson Wentz was a good quarterback and that it was everyone else's fault. But if anyone watched an Eagles game for all of 10 minutes, they would know that Carson Wentz was not the same quarterback he was ever since he was injured. Ray and I for months gone back and forth on who is the better quarterback, Dak or Matthew. And when Stafford was traded, Ray was very excited, and he said that in that moment he felt like the Rams got significantly better and had one of the best chances of making a deep season's push due to the fact of how good their defense is and how the only issue that they had was Goff, and getting rid of Goff and adding a much better quarterback is only going to help them. But why don't we get into your top few, because I think everyone the first top three are going to be similar for mostly everyone. So Ray, who do you think the best quarterback in the league is? I think this one's gonna be
Well,
pretty
I
easy.
think I think the best quarterback in the league is definitely Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
He's quite the talent. Um,
yeah,
he's got a cannon. He makes relatively good decisions. He's throwing the track stars. He can escape pressure, and he's got a ring. And ever since he stepped on the field in, I believe, 2017, the Chiefs have been a favorite for the title every year, and that's mostly because of him. The Chiefs' defense is not very spectacular; they're about average or a little bit above average usually.
yeah.
But he he's that driving force of that offense, and you can pretty much guarantee that the Chiefs will start off strong on offense every single game, which is a factor that I really like in a quarterback. And
100%.
I'll just keep that in your heads until we start talking a little bit more about our Cowboys quarterback. The
Yeah.
idea of starting fast on offense.
So yeah, mine too is Patrick. I think unless you have a dictionary worth of information as to why you don't think he's your number one, I think he's the consensus number one. So I'll go into my number two. I think Aaron Rodgers is the second best. Whether or not he will be in a Packers jersey next year is the issue. I think that he'll be traded because I don't think he wants this. He's not going to step. He'll retire before he has to go play in Lambeau. Um, I think the only fans out of Packers fans that are the most that have seen the best of Rodgers would be Cowboys fans because he has squished our dreams every few years. He has made me very, very upset multiple times. Whether it was being down multiple scores, going into halftime, and then just willing his team back, and I'm like, how did that happen? Or just the 2016 playoff loss, 2014. There have been many years. So Ray, who is your number two?
Um, I'm gonna also go with Aaron Rodgers. He's the NFL's reigning MVP. He had another spectacular season. Backed up his 2019 campaign, which was spectacular, with an even more spectacular 2020 campaign.
Yeah,
And his best factor is that he doesn't turn the football over very much. He keeps his turnovers low, and that's why the Packers, even though they're not the greatest, they don't have the greatest offense. They're actually, their offense is not that great. They have Devontae Adams, who is incredible, but their other supporting receivers are not very good. But since Rodgers doesn't turn the football over, and he rarely fumbles either, they're always going to be ahead or within striking distance, and he's a quarterback that can pull victory out of the jaws of defeat, and we've seen that very many times. And I also believe that Aaron Rodgers will not be in a Packers uniform next year, and I think the team with the best chance to get him will probably be the Broncos, just based on their capital. And if Rodgers goes to the Broncos, the Broncos will automatically be a top two favorite to represent the AFC, especially with their weapons on offense and their defense with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb being healthy next year. So
I
I'd
think
watch out for that.
I think also what helps Rodgers so much is that in years past it's always been Devontae Adams and then a bunch of no names, but when they drafted Marcus Valdes-Scantling, who was their number two wide receiver, who hasn't been the best. He's shown flashes and has really helped Rodgers out. But if he is in fact in a Green Bay jersey, I'm looking forward to seeing how well they can be because the past 2 years, ever since two drafts ago when Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show, and I think one of the people on Pat McAfee's show asked Aaron, that the last time that it's been over 10 years since the Packers drafted a wide receiver slash running back in the first round. And he was like, yeah, I didn't know that. It'd be nice to draft one. And they ended up drafting Jordan Love. And this past draft, I think they drafted a secondary player in the first round. So I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin for his time in Green Bay. I think that they're trying to make Jordan Love, trying to throw him into the fire and see what he can do. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Personally, I think Denver is the favorite to get him, but who knows? Who is your number 3, Ray?
Number 3, I'm gonna go with Josh Allen.
Wow.
Josh Allen, he has been the most improved quarterback in the league since he came into the league. If you look at his development from his first year to this year, it is outstanding, and he has not had a single season where he has not improved. He's not had that sophomore slump as most players do. He has always improved, and when he got a number 1 receiver who could make those catches in traffic and could get open and basically has every route on his route tree, his performance and accuracy really jumped substantially. And the Bills are dangerous this year for sure. Their defense is still good. Josh Allen, I think, will once again improve. And Stephon Diggs still being there, Cole Beasley, I believe they got another receiver. I think they got a receiver in the draft. Maybe they didn't. But I definitely think that they're gonna be a contender as well with him at quarterback. And he's a very young quarterback, a very young talent, and he keeps improving. So he's going to be my number 3 spot. And if they could get a running back, they could get a back who could get a lot of carries and make plays, he would get so much better. And the Bills would be a very hard team to beat.
Yeah.
That is the one piece that they're missing.
Yeah, going off Josh Allen, he led the league in play action pass attempts last season, and he threw 17 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And he finished with a 79.1 completion accuracy. And the only issue with him is his turnovers. He's second to Carson. But I personally do not have Josh Allen as my.
Is he second in turnovers this last season, or just based on his career?
Says he had 23
this year.
Last year. I don't know if that's last year. It might have been over the past few years.
All right. While you talk about your number 3, let me do some Google.
Number 4.
Oh, who's your number 3 quarterback?
Oh, no, yeah, you're right. Never mind. Yeah, you're right. My third is going to be Russell Wilson. Even though he's not my favorite quarterback. I just think that all of his accolades and what he's done throughout his career, and just like Rodgers, how before DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett, obviously, how he kind of like made something out of nothing. And early in his career, he was kind of, that defense made him, like, elevated him. But I think the last few years he's been very consistent. And another quarterback who likes to squash the Cowboys' dreams. He's a dual threat. I think the worst thing about facing him is that you can have everyone covered and all the wide receivers can be covered. But if you don't have a spy, if you don't have a fast D end, he could run for 20 yards and just end the game basically. He's always been top 3 in MVP, and yeah, he's just, the only issue with him is that he gets sacked, and that's largely due to his offensive line not being able to protect him. But I wish he had an offensive line to protect him. I think that if he did, that we would see a lot more of what he truly is, especially because he was a late round draft pick in the year where everyone was talking about RG3 and Andrew Luck. So it was, and ironic enough, he's over he's lasted longer than both of them. So
Yeah, that's a good pick. To be fair, I kind of forgot that Russell Wilson existed, but it's too late to go back now. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, just a quick update. Josh Allen had 10 interceptions last year and 9 fumbles.
that's a lot.
So
9 fumbles.
I would love for him to not fumble the ball as much. That would be
I,
great.
I feel like
But
it's always
I do think based on his drastic improvement from year 1 to year 3 and the fact that he's been in a NFC championship game, and he had a lot of games this year where he had those come from behind wins. So he showed that he could do a little bit of damage under pressure.
yeah.
But I want to just jump into my fourth pick. It would definitely be Russell Wilson, and the only reason if I would have put him at 3. The only reason why I wouldn't put him at 3 is just because the last few years in key matchups, key games, he's sputtered out a little bit late in the year. He always starts
Yeah.
off very strong, looks like the favorite for MVP, and then just kind of sputters out. Whether or not that's just lack of talent on the offense or he's not getting protected. But he's always seemed to sputter out, especially last year where they played the Rams late at the end of the year, and then also in the postseason, he wasn't able to get it done with a injured, not healthy Jared Goff coming into that game after their original starter, who I don't know his name, but he went out with a concussion.
There are a lot
But
of
yeah, just
concussions.
he hasn't produced as of late in the year as well as he did a few years ago. But I'd still take him over as a quarterback in my top 5. Absolutely, he doesn't run as much, but he's still capable of running, and he's a very very accurate passer, and he's another quarterback that doesn't turn the football over that much.
This is true. So, in my opinion, I feel like your top three is always going to be those three quarterbacks, but just in a different order. I think 4 is where it gets really interesting because argument can be made for Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson. I don't know. I can't put Watson top 4 in my 4th because I just don't know if he's going to be playing or not. Um, if because due to the allegations, if he were to be also, I don't even know if he's going to be in a Texans jersey. So there's a lot of things spiraling around his name. It could be a case could be made for him, a case could be made for Allen, and a case could be made for Dak Prescott. Um, so I think with my 4th, I'm gonna go with Allen. I think that with when they got Cole Beasley, I feel like any quarterback that could have a speedy slot runner is always gonna help you in your favor. And I think that obviously Diggs too. I think that it really elevated his career, and with that good defense of his and having a good coach, I think that he will be the highest paid quarterback in the next few years, and I expect big things for them. I think being in a championship game this early in your career is only going to help you. And I think the best part of it was after they lost. I don't know if you saw, but as the other team was celebrating, Stephon Diggs was by the tunnel, just staring at them, just soaking it all in, so that he'd be ready. So because he trying to embrace the moment of loss, so that next year he can use that to push him in the right direction and push the team in the right direction. I think his most iconic moment is his rookie year when he hurdled. I forget who he was playing, but when he hurdled the linebacker and got the first down, I was like, yeah, this kid's special.
Yeah, he's quite the athlete for sure.
Yes, and yeah, so I think yeah. Who's your five?
Um, for my fifth quarterback, I'm going to ride with the Super Bowl champion Tom Brady.
Wow.
He proved he had a slow start to the year, but can't come playoff time in December. Pretty much after their loss to the Chiefs, he did not lose a game again, and he was precise with his passing. He made the big play, and he once again came up strong in the Super Bowl and got his seventh ring. And I feel like until Tom Brady proves that he cannot get it done anymore, he should be a top 5 quarterback every year until there's just that one player who's just so much better than he is. Because he's got the weapons this year. He's got Mike Evans. He still has Chris Godwin. Antonio Brown's still there. And we know what I said about Antonio Brown last show or the show before. But he's got the running backs, the protection on the offensive line. So there's no reason why he shouldn't have another good season next year other than age.
Yeah, he's really lucky because they basically re-signed their whole team from last year, and I was very surprised they were able to re-sign Levante David and these other amazing players at such a cheap price. But I think that all comes with wanting to be a teammate of Tom Brady's. Are you done with your number 5, or did you want to keep on talking about?
No, keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
So for my 5th, I'm gonna go based off last year. I don't. It's hard to say Brady because I don't think that he's obviously not as good as he was. So I feel like people go based off his accolades. He's obviously a top 10, but based off like athleticism, I also think he has a very underrated arm. Very underrated arm. But I don't obviously he's not the quarterback that he once was.
Don't pick him because I picked him.
I obviously want to say Dak. One of these has to be Dak. But I kind of want to I waiting to get into that argument with you about whether Dak deserves. You know what? Dak 5th. Okay, let's get into it.
Before you go, Tom Brady 2020, 4,600 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, go on.
So a lot of people were talking about whether Dak Prescott or Matthew Stafford was the better quarterback. I think it's Dak, and you have on numerous occasions said that it was Matthew. So I want to say one thing. What has Matthew done in his career to be deserving of being better than Dak?
Well, Owen, I am very glad you asked that question. Matthew Stafford has a track record of being one of the top 3 quarterbacks since he entered the league and come from behind in fourth quarter comebacks. If honestly, he is basically he actually, other than I think Rodgers and Romo, has the most fourth quarter comebacks since 2009. And he's played down in the dumps with the Detroit Lions, and other than when he had Calvin Johnson, he's really been carrying that offense by himself. I know he had Marvin Jones, who's a decent player.
He had that wide receiver that's now on the Giants. I forgot his name.
Golden Tate. He had Golden Tate a couple.
He did, because Golden Tate would always bother me when they played the Cowboys because he always moonwalk into the end zone.
Hey, you can do that against the Cowboys because they have problems.
Kenny Galladay. That was
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, he's a great. His only knock on him is just his lack of postseason success. But it's hard to have postseason success when you play for the Detroit Lions. But
Yeah.
I definitely think he's a very accurate quarterback. He's another one of those quarterbacks that he's gonna keep you in games despite your lack of decency on your football team. And with going to the Rams offense with a offensive minded coach, Sean McVay, who's also a very good leader as a coach. He's built that team up very well. And he's got very good weapons. He's Brandon Cooks, not Brandon Cooks. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are
Yeah.
going to be there. Their tight ends are fairly decent. I know Stafford likes to throw to his tight ends, and their running backs are going to. I feel like their running backs are going to benefit off having a quarterback who's accurate down the field and can push the ball down the field.
Yeah.
So, just a quick point: if you're a fantasy player, fantasy football player, I would recommend drafting one of the Rams receivers just because they're not going to be limited based on their fantasy production because of their lack of excellent quarterback play. But I don't think Matthew Stafford is a top 5 quarterback based on the last few years. I would take him top 10, but based on where you're putting Dak, I can't really argue the placement of Matthew Stafford, but I can argue that Dak Prescott should not be a top 5 quarterback.
Okay.
But I wouldn't just throw Matthew Stafford at 5 just to
Yeah.
say he's better,
Okay.
because I
So
can't do that based on his lack of wins in the last few
mhm.
years. But what I can do is just say I wouldn't have either of them there.
Okay. So I would put Dak at 5. I think before he got injured, he was on pace. I know when people say on pace, you have no idea what's going to happen in a season, but I just think that last year, the way that Dak his numbers, because most all of those games they were behind, so he kind of had to just throw the ball and get all the yards that he could, which some people may call garbage time, but I people use the term garbage time way too often. I think that if if you're down by 7 or 14 points, then that's not garbage time. If you're down like 3 to 4 scores, then yeah. But I think a lot of the games, even when they were down a lot, they picked up momentum. But I would have Dak at 5. Going off fantasy, yeah, he's gonna have a really big fantasy year with all the yards that he throws and all the really good wide receivers that he has. But I think that hopefully Dak can start. He can go into the season right where he left off at week 5 of last season. Um, a few of my a few of my knocks on him are that, like you said, he starts off slow. I feel like the first 2 quarters he kind of just like practices, and then quarters 3 and 4 he's like, all right, like let me start. I don't know whose fault that is. I don't know if that's like slow play calling or something. Because also Kellen Moore and Prescott have been together for 7 years, 2 as quarterbacks and 5 as his coach. So I think going into this year, they're gonna have a much better. Hopefully, the calls will be a lot better. And I think that if Dak can, he always spreads the ball well. I think the only time where he's pushed the ball was a few years ago when they traded for Cooper. I feel like he threw the ball way too often to him against the Titans, which resulted in a few interceptions. But ever since then, I don't feel like he's pushed the ball too often. I feel a few years ago his main knock was that he couldn't throw he didn't have really good deep ball, but then last season and 2 seasons ago, towards the end of it, him and Michael Gallup were like best friends. I think CeeDee Lamb going into a second year of an actual offseason, he'll be a lot better, which will be able to help Dak. And yeah, as an biased Cowboys fan, I think that he will. he'll have a really good year. Um, hopefully he'll be able to. Because everyone, ever since he got into the league, was like Jared Goff's better than you, Carson Wentz is better than you, like every quarterback, and he's eclipsed to both of them. And if people think that he's bad, then how bad are Carson Wentz and Jared Goff? But those two are no longer in top 10, not even top 15. Um, but we can go into six unless you want to talk about my placement. If you just want to go right into six.
Yeah, just really quickly, I'm just reading off stats. Matthew Stafford, he leads the NFL since 2009 in fourth quarter comebacks with 31. So since 2009, he is number one in comebacks in the fourth quarter. 31 times he's come back, and he ranks third among active quarterbacks in his career,
So
behind
for
Roethlisberger and Brady.
So for that 2009, I know Dak only leads to 2016, but where does he rank? Because I know his first year he had a lot.
Um,
He shouldn't be that far down. I wouldn't think.
I don't think Dak has had many fourth quarter comebacks since his first year.
Okay, makes sense. So who is your number six, sir?
I just have one quick question before we go into our
Okay,
remaining four.
four.
Are we talking about Dak's placement in the top 10, or are we just ranking our top 10 quarterbacks?
I wanted to go top 10, and then after that, I wanted to kind of go
Okay.
into.
All right. Perfect.
But we kind of dipped into the Stafford Dak talk.
Yeah. Um, number six. Let me. I have a name. I'm not sure if it's justified based on 1 year. So
I'll give my six then.
okay,
Do you
you
want
can
to?
give your
All right.
six, and I'm gonna pull up
Okay.
a list of quarterbacks in the NFL.
Oh, are you gonna do? I know who you're gonna do. Um, my six is Tom Brady. For all the reasons that you said. I think the funniest moment of Tom Brady was when remember that game where he lost and he thought that there was one more down and people were clowning him.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great moment.
It was
But
pretty funny, I will
it
say.
was But I think that any quarterback, whether you're like one of the worst quarterbacks or one of the best, going into the Buccaneers system and that offense, I think is the only bad thing about the Buccaneers is that their coach Bruce Arians is very honest, and I've heard things that him and Brady have kind of bashed heads, and Bruce's if Brady has a bad game, Bruce will like tear him to shreds. But I think that offense is one of the best offenses, and their defense is very, very good. And they're favorites to win it. They re-signed all of their, like I said before, re-signed all of their free agents. So I think that's all you could ask for in a franchise is to manipulate the cap for your benefit. Um, I didn't think that he was gonna have as much success in Tampa Bay as he did, but it's exciting to see him. Kind of like people have like said to like LeBron that he was only that good because he was in the East, and then he goes to the West and wins. Uh so I was very very happy for Brady when he won, and I think that he will continue to win, and he will win a few more rings, and then I think he'll hang up the cleats as the best quarterback of all time.
Yeah, that's a really good apology letter that you just, spilled out to Tom. I'm sure he really appreciates it. Um, but yeah, now as after glossing over the list of quarterbacks in the NFL, I have a pretty good idea of the rest of my top 10. So, At number 6, I'm going to go with Tannehill.
Wow.
Since Ryan Tannehill has become a Tennessee Titan, his numbers have exploded. And if you don't believe me, just Google him.
Very
Um,
underrated.
with the Miami Dolphins, he was an okay quarterback. He didn't blow games for them. He didn't really win games for them. He was kind of more that game manager. Honestly, if I were to look back at Dak's first few years, I would compare him to Ryan Tannehill, just in the sense of how he managed the game. They're very similar in that sense. But as soon as Tannehill went to Tennessee, got a little bit more pass heavy, had Derrick Henry to balance out the attack. His numbers have really jumped. The last few years, I believe he's had over 40 touchdown passes and very few interceptions, maybe his most being maybe 7. And he played in an NFC Championship game, and the reason why they lost that game to the Chiefs, I believe, is because the Chiefs finally manned up and said, "We're going to, stop Derrick Henry, and we don't believe your receivers are good enough to match up with our corners," and that evidently was the reason why they lost. However, with the arrival of Julio Jones, who I believe will be healthy this year, it's
Hopefully.
going to be a lot harder for defenses to stack the box against Derrick Henry with Julio Jones lining up on the outside. And I think Tannehill will once again have a huge year. And he backed up his contract that he got, because he went 1 year and then they gave him all that money, and he backed up that contract with another huge year and a playoff appearance. So with Julio Jones, I think he's going to keep it going. And he's one of those veteran quarterbacks who's been in the league for a while. He's seen, he knows how to manage a football game, and he can make throws to his receivers, which is good. So I'm going to put him at 6, and I have no regret of doing that.
So, question for you: are you saying that Tannehill is better than Watson? Are you just keeping Watson off because of all the stuff that's going on around of him?
I am only keeping off Deshaun Watson off of my list just because I don't know if he's going to play a snap.
Okay, so
My list is just based on quarterbacks who are going to play next year.
okay, so then I'll keep Watson off too. My number 6.
I think you already said your 6. Your 6 was Brady,
Oh,
because your
Brady.
5th is
Okay,
Dak.
7, 7, 7. Thank you. Been a very
You're
long
very
day.
welcome. That's why I'm here.
7. 7. Lamar Jackson. I think that he came into the league as a quote unquote running back, and I think that his first playoff game, how despicable that was, because he couldn't throw. He didn't throw, and then after that, he took an off season to work on throwing the ball, and he became a very good quarterback, a very big dual threat, the closest thing that we've had to Vic in a very long time. And I think that he'll only continue to get better. Um, they still need wide receivers. Um, I forgot who they signed. They signed the wide receiver from the Chiefs, Watkins. They signed Sammy Watkins. So I think he'll definitely be able to help them out a lot. But I just don't know if that's going to be enough. And they have really good running backs too, and a solid offensive line. And that defense is always going to be great. And Harbaugh is going to Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
So who is
Yeah. Just really quickly, I believe that they also drafted a receiver to help Lamar out. I think they drafted a tall receiver to make situational red zone catches. But yeah, it just goes to show that we live in a society where accuracy for a top 10 quarterback is a very distant memory, because Lamar Jackson, he is basically getting the spot based on his electrifying ability at the quarterback position.
they
He can run run, get out of trouble. He can make people miss in the open field. And really, if you're not game planning to stop his running game, then it's going to be a disaster for you.
They drafted Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's who you're thinking of.
Yeah. So I'm going to also put him at 7.
Okay.
I think you can't really, as a reigning MVP and a representative of a team that's been in the postseason every year he's been a quarterback, and also with his monster numbers that he puts up, you can't really not put him in the top 10 just because you say, oh, he can't throw. He's definitely improved his passing ability since he came into the league, but it will be interesting to see if he takes this next step this year with the new weapons at receiver that he does have. I believe J.K. Dobbins will be an upgrade from Mark Ingram this year. And so they will still be able to run their read option. But I do think that John Harbaugh would like to refrain from running him on designed runs a little bit more often, just because he's about to get that huge payday contract, and also just to keep him healthy, because as you get older, you get a little bit more brittle, and they don't want him to take those shots. But I am going to put him at 7 because I do think his statistics and his wins do deserve a top 10 spot.
Yeah. Okay. Going into number 8, we have 3 left. This is where it gets tricky, because you could have Matt Ryan. Well, I don't know. Matt Ryan, I don't know if he's going to have numbers because he doesn't really have anyone to throw to besides Ridley. You could, if you're feeling dangerous, you could have Baker Mayfield. I know.
Trust me, I don't feel dangerous. We don't need Baker Mayfield in our top 10.
True.
It's okay.
My number 8 would be Tannehill. I think that AJ Brown has helped him out a lot. I think that I feel like that running game has kind of like made him, because I feel like what he has to do is kind of what Dak had to do in 2016, which was rely on the running game and then make a few big plays and just win the game. And going off of what you said in that playoff game when the Chiefs kind of said, "You're Derrick Henry, no more," Ryan Tannehill couldn't really go anywhere. He couldn't really do much. But hopefully with Julio Jones, they'll be able to do a little bit more play action and keep the defense on their toes instead of just handing the ball off to Derrick Henry every so often and throw the ball and give Ryan Tannehill a good job, because really no one really talks about him. And if you look at his numbers side by side to Mahomes, he has very scarily close numbers to Mahomes, and no one talks about it because when you think of the Titans, you think of Derrick Henry, and you kind of even forget that Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback. But yeah, who's your number 8?
So I'm torn because I would love to put all of these. Let me just delete Lamar off my quarterback list because I already mentioned him, so he's gone. I'm going to go at number 8. I'm going to go with Herbert.
Oh, you love this kid.
I'm going to go with Herbert. I think his first year was amazing, and in a year of the virus, no off season, no mini camp, being a rookie quarterback who wasn't even expected to play this year, they signed Tyrod Taylor specifically to keep him off the field to learn, very similar to what the Chiefs did with Mahomes, and he ended up having to be thrusted in against the Chiefs because they doctors screwed up
It
Tyrod
punctured his
Taylor's pain
lung.
killing injection, which was honestly the best thing that could happen to Justin Herbert because he got to play and he had a huge game that day, and he continued to have huge games throughout the season. I think Justin Herbert, with the addition of Penei Sewell on the offensive line, is going to get so much better. They have a new head coach,
Penei
new
Sewell.
leadership.
You
Yeah,
mean Susan the Lions? You mean
the other guy, the
yeah,
Northwestern guy, right?
yeah. Let me
Him,
Slater. I
Slater.
mean,
Yeah,
they also have Asante Samuel Jr. with their second
yeah.
pick, who I also know
Another
you love.
guy who I would love to have been on the Cowboys, and just to remind everyone, he was available. So thanks, Jerry.
Kelvin
If he
Joseph.
was crazy,
He's a first round talent, but people knocked on his work ethic. So if he didn't have any work ethic problems, he would have been a first round pick, and he would have been one of the best corners in the league. He would have been one of the better corners in the draft, and would have been a first round pick. But because of his bad work ethic, he was a second round pick. But that's another discussion for another day. Sorry to cut you off, sir.
yeah, you could say that he's haunted by the lack of work ethic that he never gave to his program.
He
But
dropped the
yeah,
music video, so I think that's kind of what he's doing this off season.
he's quite the musician, isn't that
Yeah.
right? Gosh, Herbert. Yeah, so yeah, I think his performance last year as a rookie with very little in the season that Owen very regularly uses as an excuse for the Cowboys' lack of production as a team because of the lack of minicamp. Herbert was able to have a huge year as a quarter at the position where you need a minicamp in an offseason, to get ready as a rookie. But I think this year with that extended offseason, Keenan Allen and Eckler is going to be healthy. They're going to have that running game that they need, better protection, a little bit more help from the defense. I think he's going to have that sophomore explosion, very similar to his rookie campaign. And watch out for the Chargers as a playoff team. So that's where Herbert's going to be on my 8th spot.
Yeah, going based off Herbert, his rookie year, and Dak's last full season, Dak had 4,902 yards, which seems very high, and Herbert had 4,300. Herbert had 31 touchdowns, and Dak had 30, and Dak had one more interception than him. So we had a really good year for not even having a training camp, mini camp, or any type of training.
Yeah, it's just really one of those scenarios that I just like one of those things that I always give Dak a little bit of pushback on. Like all these quarterbacks, Herbert, as an example, they came into the league putting up the numbers that it took Dak 4 years to develop to put up those numbers. And Dak started, if you think about just 1 second, if you think about Dak's offense back in 2016, he had Ezekiel Elliott and Des Bryant was there, Terrence Williams was there, Cole Beasley was there. All of those players who, when Romo was at the helm, had huge years. And it was one of the best offenses. The offensive line, that top 2 offensive line at the time was there. It's not a knack. It's just it's honestly based on the progression of your player. Herbert came in as a top 10 passer, and Dak came in as a game manager.
Yeah, so Dak threw for 1,000 less yards than Herbert did his rookie year. Going back to our comeback thing with Dak, he has 9 comeback wins and he has 15 game-winning drives, and he had 14 game-winning drives in his first 3 years, which is the most by any quarterback through 3 seasons since 1960. Dak obviously had 6 less interceptions because that rookie year he only threw 4, and I was like, oh, I love this compared to Romo because Romo, like we've said in past episodes, he loved him and he hated him because he would ooh turnover machine, but he would always keep you in games.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of like the style of play. Romo's gonna go out swinging, and Dak would much rather dump it off to his running back. So just very different play styles.
I don't think Dak dumped it off to his running back his rookie year, but I don't 2019 and the first 4.5 games of 2020 season. I don't think he dumped the ball off that
Oh,
often.
I'm just referring to his first year, the 4
Oh, okay.
interceptions.
Well, Herbert, he also came into the league as like a big arm guy. Dak came into the league his only knock was the fact that he had a DUI following his mother's passing, and that's the only bad thing about him because he led Mississippi to I think #1 overall in the country, and no one talked about it, and he was a 4th round pick, which is kind of crazy. Compared to Herbert, who was a sixth overall pick. So they have 2 different play styles, and I think that Dak has taken a few years to trust his arm, but I would definitely take Dak over Herbert in a heartbeat. It'll be interesting to see Herbert with better weapons, a better offensive line, and also having Derwin James back and healthy, and having Asante Samuel and his Joey Bosa's was he? I don't know if he was injured last year, but another year
His
of
brother
him.
was injured.
Okay, and then the other few studs on that defense. But why don't we go into your number 9, your last 2?
All right, number 9, I'm gonna put Stafford at 9.
Oh my goodness.
He's a good guy. I like Matthew Stafford. He he's referred to on the internet on a few websites the comeback king, just based on the fact that he's number 1 in comeback since he came into the league. I think with being with the Rams and McVay, his production will go up. He's a veteran quarterback who's been around for a long time, so he knows how to manage a football game. He does turn the ball over a little bit more than my top 5 quarterbacks do, but I do think that his turnovers will go down with the Rams just because he won't have to force the ball into pretty tight coverage like another quarterback that I know who used to force the ball a lot to tight coverage based on his lack of help on his roster. But I don't even have to mention his name. We're not even going to talk about him because he is retired and living a very happy life in the booth. But yeah, I think he's going to improve based on his touchdowns will go up and his interceptions will go down. And I think the Rams will be a playoff team, and you might see Matthew Stafford in an NFC Championship game facing Tom Brady. So just watch out for that. But yeah, that's who I have at number 9.
Who do you have at number 10?
To rack off my top 10, I'm going to go. Do you want to guess who my top 10 quarterback is?
Kyler Murray.
No, of course not. He doesn't need to be top 10.
Okay, good. That's who I was scared of. I don't really know who else you could do. Matt Ryan?
I don't know. Maybe Is it Matt Ryan?
No, it can't be Matt Ryan. The only time if we're gonna go based off Dak playing Matt Ryan, they've played 3 times and Dak has beat him twice. The only reason why he lost that one year was because he didn't have a left tackle. And Claiborne, I think his name was, just took his lunch money. So no.
So why does your performance against one quarterback negate you from being a top 10 quarterback?
No, I'm just saying if you're gonna, because I would like to think that Dak
I
would be
mean,
there,
I
but
mean,
if
Dak
you're gonna
lost to.
put
I mean, you have Dak over Brady, and Dak has never beaten Brady. So based on
who-
your logic, it does.
no,
It's not.
I'm just saying if you're gonna have Matt Ryan over Dak, I'm just saying like because when they've played each other at it because they played each other 3 times and when so I'm just that's what I was basically saying. I know that and yeah, Dak lost to Brady because the Cowboys have with Dak they only in games where it's like raining out they don't win. Going back to 2016 where they lost to um the Giants by 4, going into that game where it was where both teams did not play well. Even Brady didn't play well that year. Play well that game, and because that game was our freshman year, and we were both just like sitting there like, do something, please.
Brady doesn't need to play well in the rain because all he has to do is let the other team fold in the rain.
Who's your number 10?
I don't know. I'm gonna let you do your number 10 first because
I
I'm
have to do
not
my
really
number
sure.
9.
Oh, do
Um,
your
my,
number 9.
my number 9. It's kind of hard to put Matt Ryan here because he's not even gonna be. No one's killed. He's gonna be like irrelevant next year.
Is he? Because he
Um,
has Kyle Pitts.
if you think if Kyle Pitts day one has like 4 touchdowns, then by all means, best tight end ever.
I
But I
think
don't think
Kyle
he's
Pitts will
gonna.
have a very good year, and Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts is enough to give you a pretty good offensive
Their
roster.
their best. Give me 1 second because I just want to make sure that what I'm about to say is true.
Can you tell me their running back? Is it still Todd Gurley?
Davis. Gurley is either a free agent or signed with someone. Okay, so their Falcons offense. Their line I'm not even gonna say because none of these names sound familiar.
Alex
Russell
Mack is a top center.
he's not on this team on the depth chart.
Alex Mack is not on this team.
I
Uh-oh.
don't think so.
Is my main point not there to save me?
He's not on the depth chart. He's on He's on a 3-year deal.
With who? Oh, crap.
49ers.
Not good.
Okay. So is he out then? Is he not there then?
He's not there.
He's not? Okay. So then who's your number 10 then? He's on
No,
the
no, no. Go
49ers.
ahead. It's still your turn.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay. So 9 I would put Stafford for all the reasons. I don't think he's gonna have that good. I feel like teams that you overhype, kind of like when people overhyped the Browns a few years ago, and they didn't really have that great of a season, or they didn't win the Super Bowl like everyone said they were. So I'll put him at 9. I don't think that they're gonna do well as everyone else thinks they are, but I hope Stafford at least gets some respect. And then number 10. I don't even know because there's a drop off. If Kyle Pitts and has as good as everyone says he is, and we're also missing Watson because we don't know if they're going to play. So this is all if tomorrow Watson says that he's going to come back and play if charges are dropped, then this is going to be a different list. But 9 Stafford, 10 Matt Ryan.
Okay. So
Matt Ryan is based off the fact that he's going to have a lot of numbers. I doubt they're going to have more than 5 wins, but he's going to have a lot of numbers. He may get sacked a lot, but he'll have big numbers.
I'm going to stick with Matt Ryan at number 10 because
okay. Let's
based on the information that I'm receiving, their offensive line is returning 60% of their starters. And if they can have a little bit of success out of their replacing center, I believe that he will be well enough protected to throw the ball fairly well. And Matt Ryan he's always consistent. He's always going to give you a bunch of numbers. He's had 4,000 yards um since 2011. He's never had a season under 4,000 yards, and his turnovers are relatively low. And I think with the addition of Kyle Pitts, he's going to get that security blanket at tight end to give him a little bit more security. Calvin Ridley is a wide receiver one, and with Julio gone, I think he'll take up that role nicely. And people forget that their Russell Gage is also a very competent receiver,
Yeah.
and I think he will be a sound number two. So I think Ridley and Gage and Kyle Pitts are good enough offense. And um, Davis, their running back, he filled in nicely for McCaffrey, and I feel like he will fit
Yes.
right in Atlanta. It just comes down to what the hell they have on defense. Because if their defense can be fairly okay, the
I will read
Falcons,
you.
huh?
I will read you some of their notable defenders. Grady Jarrett, Dante Fowler Jr., Deion Jones, AJ Terrell, Richie Grant, who I wanted the Cowboys to pick, and that's basically it. Um, so
Is
if his
AJ
defense,
Terrell a rookie?
he was the guy from Clemson who the Cowboys picked. The Falcons picked Terrell right before the Cowboys picked Lamb. And I
Okay.
have a sneaky suspicion that if Lamb wasn't there, then the Cowboys would have picked Terrell, and I'm very happy they didn't because Terrell got burned in the championship a few years ago.
Okay.
When he was at Clemson?
Is he a corner?
Yes.
Okay,
He's
yeah. I think the Falcons with the new head coach, they don't have Dan Quinn there. They don't have none of the head coaching staff, I believe, is still there from that disaster in the Super Bowl as of right now. I think new blood at the head coaching position will be good for the Falcons. But I think Matt Ryan, he's very consistent quarterback who's going to get you your numbers, and he's good enough to get you wins. And he's another one of those quarterbacks with a ton of comebacks and game winning drives. By the way, he is one behind Matthew Stafford, so he is that number 2 spot for comebacks since his career began. So I'm going to put him at 10. And just to let you know, your man Dakota is sitting at my 11th spot.
Can I read you some numbers from 2019 and you tell me which one sounds better to you?
Okay.
So games started, one quarterback had 16, the other quarterback had 15. Wins, one quarterback had 8, one quarterback had 7 because that quarterback missed. They both had 8 losses. One quarterback had a 467 winning percentage, other quarterback had a 500. One quarterback had 30 more completions, had way more pass attempts, had a little bit better completion percentage. One quarterback had 4,466 passing yards. The other one had 4,902. So would you rather have more completion numbers or passing yards?
I would rather have Matt Ryan.
Well, in 2019, Dak had 4 more touchdowns, 300 more yards. He had a 5% touchdown percentage. Matt Ryan had a 4.2. Dak had 3 less interceptions. Dak had a 1.5 interception percentage, and Matt Ryan had a 2.3. Matt Ryan had 2 game-winning drives compared to Dak's 0. Dak had an 8.2 yards per pass attempt. Matt Ryan had 7.3. And quarterback rating.
I mean, you're making a very good case based on.
Let me just say one more thing, and then you can say whatever you want. Quarterback rating. One quarterback had 92.1. Is that good?
I don't see that on my sheet. Let me find it.
The other quarterback had a 99.7 quarterback rating. Which one would you
Can
rather have?
can you read me the QBR?
QBR, Matt Ryan had 92.1, Dak had 99.7.
That doesn't make any sense because QBR is a lot harder to have a 90 overall. Gosh,
Well, I
where is
mean,
that passer rating on this stupid sheet? Oh, I found it. Okay, go back. Tell me, read me them again.
which one?
Passer rating.
Does it say Matt Ryan 92.1?
It says 92.1 on my sheet, yes.
Dak 99.7?
Pretty good QBR.
Yeah. Okay.
If you'd
Also,
like to transition into all my other notes that I took on Dak's smoke screen of performance numbers, we could
smoke
go into
screen.
that.
Give me 5 reasons. Give me 5 reasons, concrete reasons as to why. Since you can't, whatever you want to say. Oh, Matt Ryan's career, Dak's career. Give me 5 reasons why Matt Ryan is better than Dak. Dak, I'll let you go first, and then I'll go. Give me 5 reasons why Matt Ryan is better than Dak Prescott.
Is this based on career or recently?
Whatever you want, because recency, Matt Ryan hasn't been that good since the Super Bowl debacle. So you can just do career.
Okay, well, Matt Ryan has played quite more postseason games than Dak Prescott, and he has advanced a lot further than Dak Prescott has in the postseason. He has an NFC Championship win, and he has a Super Bowl appearance, which he did end up losing, and you could argue whether or not that was entirely his fault. I will say the fumble was his fault, but there were a lot of things that also happened in that game that were quite shocking from the coaching staff. But I will put some of the blame on Matt Ryan. But the thing is, he did play in a Super Bowl, and he has won an NFL MVP. He is an MVP of this league. And if you look at his numbers for his entire career, he is a very consistent passer. His touchdowns are up and his interceptions are relatively down, other than one season where he had 16. And that came the season before he went to the Super Bowl. But I mean, look, it's just based on preference. Like that's all it is. That's all it is. A lot of Dak Prescott's numbers from that 2019 season came towards the end of the game, and without going much into it, because I want to save that for a little bit later. A lot of he last that 2019 season other than the games against the Giants, the Washington, and Miami. There's a large dip off from those games where he got a lot of his numbers, but it's just based on preference. I'll take Matt Ryan at 10 and Dak at 11. Just based on preference.
I don't really know what to say there. That's a very interesting. I don't know how you can.
I mean, you gotta if you want to get into, if you want to be a top, keep in mind he also missed an entire year, so my rule
Matt or
is
Dak?
you can't be
We're talking about Dak here
you
or
can't
Matt?
be the top 5 at all for me if you missed basically an entire year. So that he's off the table for top 5. And I don't know what he's going to be this year. So I'm going to just put him at 11 based on he's coming off an injury, and I think Matt Ryan is set up to have a better year than he did the year before. A new coaching staff.
Doesn't matter, new coaching staff, because it's a first year, and I'd assume that the coach is going to have a new playbook and stuff. So do you think Dak? You think he's going to have the better year? I don't care about team wins. I'm talking about quarterback, like QBR, completions, completion percentage, yards. Who do you think is going to have a better year?
I think Dak's number will go down based on coming back from an injury. So we'll
His foot
see.
had nothing to do with his.
It's a crapshoot at this point.
All of his wide receivers are. If the man can make a 3-step drop back and just wait for CD or someone to get open, I think he'll be fine. From what I've heard, Dak's ankle was weak to begin with because there have been plays where that injury happened and his ankle didn't buckle. And he had 2 surgeries, I think. He had one to repair it, and then he had a second to make it stronger, which is a good thing. Because it's over Dak's career, he has had a lot of bumps, and he has always become better. He has gone through a lot of things, and he has become better because of it. And I think that he's not going to let this ankle get the better of him. I'm looking forward to the numbers that he can put up, and hopefully, I think that he can do at least. He'll have a top 5 pass. He'll be top 5 in yards, and it'll be up to the rest of the team and him too to see how far they can go. But I think it is, even if you don't go based off last year, if you go based off the past, I do think it's very disrespectful to Dak to have Matt Ryan over him. Because even if you exclude Matt Ryan's MVP year, and if you get rid of Dak's rookie year, I don't know how you could take Matt Ryan over him. He's been mediocre, I guess you could say, besides his yards. But what have they done besides? Because he's 4-6. They've made the play. He's had 10 playoff games, and he's 4-6. He's made it to 4 Pro Bowls. Dak's made it to 2, and he's played way less years. Matt Ryan has an All-Pro, and he has an MVP over him, like awards-wise.
Those are pretty substantial awards.
Well, where was that All-Pro year? I mean, the All-Pro stuff is all he won. He was an All-Pro in 2012. He was 2016. 2012, he was selected to the Pro Bowl, but 2016 he was an All-Pro.
What star means. Okay. How do I find his playoff log?
It should be playoffs, but yeah, I don't understand that. I don't know how you can have Herbert over Dak.
Postseason. That's not helpful. Tell me the games that he played.
Also, Matt Ryan's 36. He's not going to get any better. But who knows? Other news. Ezekiel Elliott on Instagram uploaded a workout video, and so did DeMarcus Lawrence. Ray and I talked a few days ago, and I forget who, but I think Chase Young. Chase Young posted a workout video, and Ray said, I wonder what D-Law's doing. And I was like, he's probably working out too. He's like, nah, he's not. And then I think yesterday or the day before, he also posted
that. I said he's better be working out. He gets paid $100 million.
He posted a workout video. So yeah, I think that the Cowboys have gotten they've gotten called out by basically everyone in the league. And the last time that this team was called out that much was before that Saints win when they beat them, when the Saints only had like one loss, and they were like at the top of their, I forget, was that 2018 or the year before?
It was 2018.
Okay. So yeah, I think that they'll be I think hopefully they'll be able to to put together a decent season. But what else do you want to say about today's episode?
I don't know. I feel pretty happy with my top 10 list.
Yeah, I think in the next few days they're gonna go to Oxnard, so that's when we'll have like good topics because they can take videos and stuff, and they're gonna have like first team, second team, third team, so we'll be able to give like concrete things instead of episodes about who our top 10 quarterbacks are.
Yeah. So I do feel like my I guess you could call it my reasoning was not very sound. But I do have quite a few I have some notes that could kind of
Back up your reasoning.
back up my point if you'd like me to share them. I can go through it quickly too.
Go for it. Go for it.
So, we all know who Matt Ryan is. So,
And I think we lost Ray. Well, Ray has been. Oh, there we go. He's been added back, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm back. All
right.
Owen cut the Wi-Fi. He was afraid.
Pick up where you left off, sir.
Yeah. We know who Matt Ryan is. I don't need to go into him. He's a sound quarterback. But just based on Dak in that 2019 year where you were, saying all those great, numbers, the 4,900 yards, how he was just, tearing up the league with his exceptional play. I just want to bring up a few just small details from that season that you forgot to mention.
I didn't even know he had that many yards.
Oh, because you told me.
No, I didn't know that he had that many yards before I said it.
I know he had that many yards because he came just a few yards short from breaking Romo's record.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
So, but yeah, so just Dak Prescott, let me just start off the bat. I think he's a good quarterback. I think I'd rather have him over Lamar Jackson because he's a passer. And in this league,
you had Lamar Jackson in your top 10. How'd you not have Dak in your top 10 then?
Because I can have, based on performance, and I can have whoever I want in my top 10.
But you just said that. Okay, I will let you continue.
Just hold on. Dak Prescott is a better passer than Lamar Jackson, but he is not a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson based on top 10. But that doesn't mean I would not want him as a passer for my team.
So how is he a better quarterback if the job of being quarterbacks didn't become mobile or didn't become mobile until basically when they didn't come back into things until Lamar. So if the main purpose of being a quarterback is throwing the ball, because when Lamar, his first, if you want to go off first playoff appearance, Lamar looked like he has never played football before in his whole life. At least Dak, and the Cowboys had a week off. Dak was down, and he still put up way better numbers than Aaron Rodgers did. Dak, every single time Dak and Aaron play each other, Dak has much better numbers than he does. So I don't know how you say that. How is Lamar a better quarterback than Dak? But the only thing Lamar does better than Dak is run.
Because, like I said before in this episode, the society we live in today doesn't care if you're not that good of a passer at the quarterback position. Because if you pull up every website and quarterback list, where is Lamar Jackson?
Top 10, but Dak's above him.
on
besides
everyone.
Dan Orlovsky.
Yes, but either way, Lamar Jackson is a top 10 quarterback, not because he can throw. So that's the point. Nobody cares in this day and age if you can throw, if you're a talent like Lamar Jackson. I will rate him I would in my top 10, but that doesn't mean I would play him over Dak.
Can I read you Dan Orlovsky's top 10, please?
Quickly.
Okay. He had Mahomes 1, Rodgers 2, Brady 3, Watson 4, Allen 5, Wilson 6, Lamar 7, Stafford 8, Tannehill 9, Prescott 10. He says this: Burrow, Herbert, Kyler, and Baker are right on the cusp. He said, if healthy and in the right mind, Wentz is top 10, and Derek Carr is flirting with the list. How does this man have a job? How?
His list isn't that terrible, except for the
He
fact
says
that he
Wentz
has.
is top.
Well, Wentz isn't in the top 10.
He
His top
said
10.
if healthy, he would be top 10, but he's and in the right mind.
I think he's very healthy. He's just has a problem
He's a
mentally.
bad quarterback. Being a bad quarterback, that's his issue.
His problem is he's an arrogant player who isn't a very team first
His
person.
whole team hates him.
Good.
Whole
They
team
should.
hates him.
They should.
He's lucky that he has Frank Reich in Indy, or he would be on the couch right now.
Well, good thing we don't have to talk about Carson Wentz because he's not very relevant. Because neither of us had him in our top 10, and I don't have him anywhere close to my top 10.
I saw.
I have him in my bottom 10.
Yeah, he was right. He was a one better than Sam Darnold.
Good. I'd put Sam Darnold ahead of him because Sam Darnold managed to beat the Dallas Cowboys with very little of anything to go to help him.
Why don't you say what you got to say so we can
Yeah, but anyway, back to what I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted. Just kidding. Just kidding. Like his 2019 campaign, I can sum up like this. Monster start, lackluster from there on out. 2019 Giants, Washington, Dolphins. After those 3 games, he was an MVP favorite, would you say?
because they were bad teams.
But I remember when Owen was waving his pom-poms, I was saying, Owen, who the hell are they playing? And you're like, it doesn't matter. But anyway,
the Giants week 1, the Cowboys looked like they were like the Chiefs. Dak looked like he was Mahomes. I was like in awe the whole game. I was like, wow, this is what it feels like to have a really great offense.
Yeah, and then what happened? We got to week 4 and the misery began because the Cowboys lost to the New Orleans Saints. And if you recall, who was the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints?
Teddy Bridgewater.
Exactly. So the offense did nothing. That high-powered Chiefs offense that you were referring to was pretty much shut out by the New Orleans Saints defense.
I don't think Michael Gallup played that game, but that doesn't matter.
Because you got Amari Cooper, the man. I believe he was paid a ton, was he, that year?
I think that you and I should come to a conclusion that every single game that Amari Cooper has played in the Dallas Cowboy jersey, he's been injured. Every single game. He's had some type of foot ailment.
He's been injured mentally, not physically.
He has foot issues.
But he also has mental issues.
If you had a broken ankle and he was mentally tough enough to go out there, he just couldn't do anything.
I just got to know why his home numbers are so much better than his away numbers.
That's a conversation for another show.
Good, great, because I would love to go on to my next wonderful point. Following week, Green Bay Packers. We love the Green Bay Packers. They're our favorite team to talk about on this show because they bring us so much pain. But The Dallas Cowboys Chiefs high powered offense was shut out until the mid third quarter. They did not score a single point in that game until the mid third quarter. And Dak had 3 interceptions, but like you said, he ended up with 424 yards. So once again his yards went up, but the Cowboys didn't win because they didn't score a point till the third quarter. So just one of those things to keep in mind. Like the very first game, this became a problem was that playoff game. But I'm not going to knock Dak for that because he's a rookie. So he gets a pass for starting off slow. But since that playoff game, the Dallas Cowboys offense has had problems with starting strong, and they usually lose. That's evident once again the very next week when they lost to the Jets. Cowboys offense 0 touchdowns until late in the fourth quarter, and Dak Prescott did not throw a touchdown pass in that game. But he did have 300 yards, so I guess that means something in the stat sheet in that 4,900 yard game. But just in my opinion, if you're going to be a top 10 quarterback, you got to and also he's the solidified leader of the team. You have to get in the end zone against the Jets. You just have to before the fourth quarter. It's like a requirement as a quarterback in the top 10 to score a touchdown before the fourth quarter against the New York Jets. Wouldn't you say?
I think so. I went into that game not being confident. I think under Jason Garrett, he never lit up a team. He never got them fired up. I think that this was that game, that game and the Bears game. I was like, wow, this team has given up. This team is packing in the bags and they want to go. They want to go to the next season. I was kind of disgusted.
You can't be ready for the next season when at that point you're 3-3 through a third of the season.
Yeah, but if you go into MetLife and you just get destroyed by the Jets and Sam Darnold hasn't even played because he was sick. When you and I watched those games, I think 2018, some of those games, or some of the games in general, were just worse than 2015 as a whole.
Yeah, they're worse than 2015 because you have a solid quarterback who should be better than what he's showing on the field. That's the problem. You can be sad for a 2015 team when they're throwing out Brandon Weeden and Matt Castle, but with Dak Prescott, that shouldn't be happening. That's the problem. So, like the fact that he's the leader of your team and the quarterback of your team, and you're not scoring touchdowns until the late third or late fourth quarter is a problem. And just the next few games, I had the Bills game, which shockingly they did score first, but after they scored first, they did nothing the entire game on offense. I believe Dak threw an interception. He fumbled twice. It was just a disaster. He still has Cooper. He still has Gallup. He still has Zeke. He still has I think Cole Beasley maybe he was gone. Cole Beasley might not have been there. Cole Beasley was definitely not there, but he still had Gallup and Cooper.
Yeah, I think
and Tony Pollard on the team. The offense is still good. In the Bears game just blows my mind. Just blows my mind how awful you could look, and then in the last 5 minutes of the game, throw for 300 yards, and the very next day, Skip Bayless and Owen DeChico are saying he is, how great he was in the last 4 minutes. I don't think you said that, actually. You were probably disgusted along with me. But I know what Skip Bayless said that very next day. It was quite shocking.
Yeah, I've learned to stop listening to Skip Bayless.
Yeah, but no points. So Bears, touchdown, very first drive, touchdown. Good job, great work. No points after that touchdown until the fourth quarter of that game.
And they lost 31-24.
Yeah, how can you as a quarterback go 30 plus minutes being a top 10 quarterback without scoring a touchdown.
They were a lot more issues than just Dak on that team. They were, if you want to look at other teams that were on, also like Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson had none of these allegations, he'd be top 10 too. But last year, his team was nothing, and he was also nothing. So it happens to other quarterbacks too.
But Deshaun Watson doesn't wait till the fourth quarter to score a touchdown.
They wouldn't. They didn't win. They barely won any games. Like it doesn't matter if you want to look at the overall game, they didn't win a lot of games.
It's not
And
about
he was in a very
the
similar
Dallas
situation
Cowboys.
than Dak
The
was.
Dallas Cowboys team, would you say, is a lot better structurally than the Texans?
Depth chart, yes. That year we're talking about, no.
The Texans might have been a playoff team that year.
I'm sorry, last year. We're skipping years here, but
Oh, I was just referring to Dak's last full season as a quarterback when they went 8-8.
I do not. That year, the Texans went Super Bowl, yeah. But last year, if you want to take 2019 Dak and 2020 Deshaun put up a lot of numbers, but they didn't really win a lot of games. I think the Dak and Watson were in similar positions.
Watson played the entire year with no wide receiver one because Hopkins was gone, and he put up, and his numbers were sensational. But we don't need to really compare the two because one is probably never gonna play a snap again in the NFL, and the other is coming off an injury and will play a snap in the NFL.
The NFL is they're very, very lenient with criminal cases. Like the MLB with what Bauer's doing, he'll never play again. But NFL is like you double, triple chances, so he'll be fine.
The problem is though, he might not play for like 4 years, and it might be a Michael Vick scenario when he just shows up after 4 years on like the freaking Detroit Lions.
As long as he tells Goodell that he's sorry, he'll be fine. But we could make this like a whole nother episode, honestly, in the future. Just
to wrap up quickly, the reason why I am putting Matt Ryan in my top 10 above Dak, one, because Dak is coming off an injury, and I don't know what he's going to look like. He could be incredible. He could be worse than when he was the year before. I don't know.
Okay, that makes sense.
But my main point is Dak has not shown me yet that he can be consistent throughout the game. I know Matt Ryan can be consistent throughout the game, but there's been way too many instances where either he has scored first and not scored again and been down by 20 points, or he doesn't score at all and is down by 20 points and then scores 3 times in the last 5 minutes and loses. As a top 10 quarterback and as the said leader, I believe that he's a good leader. I'm not crapping on his leadership skills. I know he's a good leader. But as the main leader of that football team, like, you got to lead with your play on the field, and your play on the field can't show up at the end of the game when it has and you put up 400 yards and you still lose. You got to lead by example the entirety of the game. And I'm not saying he's got to score 30 points every quarter. I'm just saying he's got to score more than once in the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And who knows, if he has a huge year next year where he is a steady quarter by quarter quarterback, then the Cowboys will win a ton of games. But if he keeps up his same style of play where he does nothing and then does something later, the Cowboys are going to be a very mediocre football team.
I think if you also want to say that, you also have to blame Zeke for fumbling the ball more than he ever has. You also have to blame the defense.
Yeah. Well, the defense doesn't play offense. I'm just talking about the offense. We can get into the defensive production all we want.
Okay.
But like, you got to give your defense a little bit of help by staying on the field and scoring touchdowns. You got to, if the defense is horrible, you got to keep them off the field.
Okay, that makes sense.
Zeke is a problem. Going into 2019, I was saying Zeke makes Dak, but after the last few years, Zeke is just a problem and he needs to be getting rid of
Anything you want to say
immediately.
before we wrap it up and
I
start
am
thinking about next week's topic?
I am extremely excited for the NFL to begin again because I need the NFL in my life. As a employee that works a lot during the evening, I have missed every single NBA Finals game, and it has made me very sad.
You're not
But the
missing out
good
on
news
much.
is, the good news is, without going completely off topic, but I just got to get this one thing in. There was an All-Star game that was played yesterday in the Major League of Baseball, and Owen's lovely favorite team had one representative, Mr. Aaron Judge, and
They
he
had
didn't.
three:
Who was the other
Chapman and
two?
Cole. Cole didn't pitch. Chapman didn't go in.
They were scratches. They don't count.
Yeah, because
But Aaron Judge played, and he couldn't get the barrel on the ball. But my team had three players, and one of those players, Kittredge, he went one inning pitched, 0 hits, 1, 2, 3. Joey Wendell, 1 of 1, base hit, and Mike Zunino, 1 for 2, home run. Who has the better roster? You tell me. But that's all I got to say for baseball because we are not a baseball show.
Nick, when you listen to this, you're gonna have to. Here's your cue to bring Nick to bring Ray onto your show and yell at him.
Yeah, I'm just I just love my favorite part about the New York Yankees is the fact that they spend so much money on their players and their players just suck.
But wrapping up, thank you all for listening. We're gonna have to at some point in time figure out how to make these shows an hour shorter, but we will figure that out in the future. Everyone make sure that they have their HBO subscriptions updated so that they can watch the Hard Knocks.
Because we are going to be talking about that quite a bit because that there's going to be so much information in those episodes.
Make sure you follow a lot of the Cowboys, the bloggers, the ones that'll be going to Oxnard and taking videos, so you are more up to date on what's going on. You're gonna see a lot of CeeDee Lamb, quote unquote, dezzing people, and yeah, just read up on this season because the only way that Hard Knocks is gonna make any sense is if you read up on it, and even if you think the Cowboys are going to stink this year, it's always fun. Like Ray says, it's fun to laugh at misery.
Yeah,
So
I just have a few things to say before we wrap up.
yeah,
Number one, Jordan Lewis video of him playing corner. He looked pretty nice out there. I made a joke that he was playing horrendous D, but I was obviously kidding because he had a lot of. He looked pretty good out there. So that's a positive that he looks good in coverage. I don't know if any of those receivers are NFL receivers, but he looked good out there in that video. Also,
Zeke looks amazing, like physique wise. Is probably the best shape.
Zeke has got rid of his Mickey Mouse buns. That's nice. He looks a little bit better. Hopefully, he will be back to playing like a normal Zeke, so I can once again say that Zeke is the driving force of that football team. Because I love it when Zeke plays well. I have a Zeke jersey in my closet. However, I don't wear it very much anymore because of lack of performance. But yeah, I'm excited for training camp. I'm excited for Hard Knocks, and I'm excited for the NFL season. So that's all I got to say. Thank you for watching, guys.